Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all to a brand new episode of the Boombox Guru. I'm your host, LB, and today's episode, man, we're gonna be talking about my Ice-T CD collection from 1987 to 1993. Now, Ice-T is somebody that doesn't really need a huge introduction. Everybody knows Ice-T. He's a famous rapper, songwriter, actor, entrepreneur. I mean, his career spanned 40 years now, man. He was one of the first West Coast rappers, one of the first West Coast rap stars who really helped bring West Coast hip hop to the forefront back in the late 80s. He's also one of the first rappers who transitioned into a successful film career as well as television on Law and Order SVU. I mean, he's done so many things, man. He's become an icon within music in general, man. So there's really not anything that I can say about Ice-T that most people don't know. I mean, your grandmama knows who Ice-T is, man. That's how big he is. But today I wanted to focus on these particular albums, man, because I think they're some of his best records of all time. They're some of my favorites that I listen to on a regular basis. So without further ado, sit back and tune in as we talk about my Ice-T CD collection from 1987 to 1993. Okay, so we're gonna go into my first album, which is the debut album from Ice-T, known as Rhyme Pays, released in 1987. Man, classic album cover right there. Original CD pressing too, but a really great debut album, solid debut album from Ice-T, man. This album is best known for the song called "6 in the Morning." Which is a song that Ice-T was heavily influenced by Schoolie D's PSK 13, as well as an artist named King Son from New York City. But this record, it was one of the earliest gangster rap records, along with Schoolie D's PSK 13, that really shedded a light on South Central Los Angeles, man. Because the song, I think the song's about 9 or 10 minutes long. The album version is, man, but it's just this really vivid and really entertaining story that Ice-T discusses. He talks about like the everyday antics of growing up in South Central Los Angeles in the hood. He talks about the gangs, the drug dealing, police brutality. All it's a bit of an exaggerated story for entertainment's sake, but for the most part, it's all based on real events that Ice-T probably witnessed or he might have been a part of, and he turned it into a very phenomenal story. Just a great record, one of the earliest gangster rap songs that really helped to shed light on West Coast hip hop. Very influential. I mean, Boys in the Hood from NWA, Ice Cube has said that song is 6 in the Morning Part 2, and I can really hear that in that song as well. But just a phenomenal record that really it really was a groundbreaking record, man. But not only that, man, this album is very kind of diverse. I think it's one of the most diverse records in Ice-T's career, because not only does he have those hard hitting songs, man, but he also has like dance tracks such as Make It Funky, which is it's something that's very much laid for the dance floor, man. I mean, that whole beat, it's just got a whole pop lock and breakdancing vibe to it. Then one of my favorite songs on here called Somebody's Gotta Do It, Pimpin' Ain't Easy. Love that track, man. Ice-T going in straight up pimp mode, Mac mode. A lot of quotable lines on that song, especially during the chorus. Then you have songs like Sex, which is a dirty rap song. Really cool. Nice up-tempo beat. Another song made for the dance floor. Squeeze the Trigger, another favorite of mine. I remember the first time I heard that song was in the movie Colors. I think it was in the scene where Rocket and his crew were like in the house loading up, ready to go back out and retaliate against some rival gangs. But so many great songs on this album, man. Just a great debut. Also, the title track, Ron Pays, that song actually has a Black Sabbath sample in it. So that was a foreshadowing and sort of like a hint at Ice-T's love for rock and heavy metal music, which he would later, fully go in on when he formed the heavy metal band Body Count, man. But just a solid debut album right here from Ice-T. A classic record, classic album cover. Some great rhymes on this record, man. One of the records that really helped to bring West Coast hip hop to the forefront, man. So definitely a groundbreaking record in hip hop music right here. Ron Pays by Ice-T, man. 1987. So the next album will be Ice-T's second record, known as Power, released in 1988. Classic, iconic hip-hop album cover. One of the greatest hip-hop album covers of all time. Honestly, I would say one of the greatest album covers of all time right there. Just a classic. And I'm going to show you, this is the back of it right here. Awesome album cover right here. And a great record, man. Honestly, this record was, in my opinion, somewhat of more of an improvement over Ron Page, because this is where I feel Ice-T really kind of found his groove, really found his niche, his style. Because this record is starting to come, he's starting to get a little bit more political. Well, not necessarily political, but he's telling these stories, these gangster stories have like a moral to them. He's like basically telling you what happens when you get into this life, man. But just a great record, man. Some great tracks on here. I think this was Ice-T's breakthrough record as far as him becoming a rap star. You know, the song called "I'm Your Pusher," which to me, that's like the hip hop. That's pretty much the hip hop version of Curtis Mayfield's "I'm Your Pusher," man, because it samples that song, but Ice-T just comes up with his own laid back, like really smooth style, and he describes like the tales of being a drug dealer and so forth, and all that comes with that lifestyle and so forth. Also came with a very iconic video. The song called "The Syndicate," which is sort of like a posse cut that features Ice-T and a couple of the Rhyme Syndicate members, Donald D and Evil E, where Ice-T starts taking shots at LL Cool J because him and LL Cool J were, they were trading jabs at each other around this time. Radio Suckers, where Ice-T goes in on the radio stations that refuse to play music by him and artists like Public Enemy because they're actually making music that has substance to it, and they're kicking knowledge, and these radio stations refuse to play any of the stuff that they make. And Girls, Let's Get Butt Naked and Fuck, another kind of sex dirty rap track, which is kind of funny. I like the chorus, I like the title of that song, but not really cool beat, man. It's just a typical dirty rap song that I thought was cool. High Rollers, which is another song Ice-T discussing about, living in that criminal life, getting your money illegally, all the stuff that comes with it, like the fast cars, the women, all that stuff, but also the consequences of that life, because it comes with police, violence, and all sorts of things, man. But I would think the last song on this album, called Soul on Ice, that's my number one favorite song off of this album, man, because it's got this, the song is different from everything else on the album, man, because it has this like early kind of 70s funk and soul vibe to it. And Ice-T, he delivers his verses in a more spoken word approach. And he tells a story of either this pimp, gangster, or maybe all of the above that's having this celebration of him getting out of the game. And Ice-T is just vividly describing everything that's happening during this party, the celebration. But at the end of the song, this particular gentleman ends up getting shot dead. Like, all those years he spent like in the criminal underworld, and it's the day he has a party celebrating his retirement from the game, everything comes back to bite him and he gets killed, man. So a very cool story with an amazing twist to it, man. So I really dug that. But Power, I really dig this album, man. I think this is one of Ice-T's best records. It's always been considered one of his best records. I see this album all the time on people's top hip hop albums of all time lists. I think the album cover really helps with it too, man, because it's an iconic album cover, man. One of the best in music, man. But just a great record, man. And like I said, Ice-T's breakthrough record that really sent him on the path of success right here, man. So definitely, man, if you ever come across this album, definitely check it out. So the next album we're going to talk about briefly is Ice-T's third album, where he went by the name The Iceberg, Freedom of Speech, Just Watch What You Say, released in 1989, man. Another great album cover right here. I think this is one of the best album covers of all time. Shout out to the artist, man. I wish I knew the artist's name, but they did a great job at, representing that title, because this album is about censorship, man. At the time, the PMRC had been formed, and they were going after a lot of people, and Ice-T was one of their main targets. Tipper Gore, she had said some stuff about him in some interviews and some publications, and Ice-T took this excuse me, he took the opportunity to respond to her on this record, man. He went hard on her, man. I mean, and rightfully so, man, because a lot of stuff she said about him was kind of stupid. But this right here is probably my favorite Ice-T album right here, man. I listen to this album so much. Anytime I get on an Ice-T kick, this is usually the first album that I go to, because it's just a great record, man. And I think it's his most political album too, man. And I think he's got some of his best production. Some of the production on here just felt kind of like a bit of a slight Public Enemy Bomb Squad kind of feel to it, man. But just a great record, man. You know, some of my favorite tracks on here, Lethal Weapon, where Ice-T is talking about his mind, his intelligence being his greatest weapon of all. That You Played Yourself, where Ice-T tells all these different scenarios where people are playing themselves, where they're getting caught up in like stupid situations by their own choices and their own poor choices, and they end up getting played. Peel Their Caps Back, which is one of my top Ice-T songs right here, where he tells the story of some gang members going to retaliate against one of their members getting killed. The whole soundscape of the song, man, the eerie synths, the beat, it is just a perfect backdrop to this vivid story that Ice-T tells about these gang members going to retaliate against one of their fallen members, man. Just an amazing song on here, man. Oh, and then The Girl Tried to Kill Me, which has Ernie C playing guitar. This is essentially a rap metal song. Probably one of the earliest rap metal songs, and a foreshadowing of Body Count, in my opinion, since Ernie C is playing guitar on here, man. But this is a funny story of Ice-T talking about his experience with a dominatrix, man. It's a really great song right here. It's one of my favorites on the album, man. I enjoy listening to it so much, man. Let's see here. The Hunted Child, which is a song about a young man who he murdered somebody and then he's going on the run from the police. The whole production, the beat, everything vividly it invokes that feeling of how it may feel for somebody who's just killed somebody and now they're on the run from the police and everybody that's looking for them, man. Just a great song, man. And then, of course, the title track called Freedom of Speech. This is where Ice-T really goes in on his critics. Like, he goes in on Tipper Gore really hard. Everybody that has something negative to say about him in the publications, man, this is his response to those people. And let's see here. Is it Hit the Deck? There's one song on here, I think it's Hit the Deck, where he goes in, where Ice-T, he's talking about, this is around the time when Professor Griff from Public Enemy had got kicked out of the group because he said something that was deemed anti-Semitic in an interview, and Public Enemy or whatever, they got pressure to kick him out of the group. And Ice-T's talking about how a lot of the rappers who claimed that they were down for PE they were kind of like staying quiet about it and not really saying anything, not really saying much, not really stepping up to the plate to defend them and stand by the group. And he's pretty much taking it upon himself to speak out in their defense. And he even talks about how he doesn't care what Professor Griff said, that's still his man and everything like that. So he's taking it upon himself to step out and show support for the group in spite of all the controversy. And then What You Want to Do, which is a posse cut that features most of the Rhyme Syndicate, man. You get an early verse from Everlast on here, man, but just a dope party song on this album, man. And then My Word Is Bond, which is another kind of sense of humor type song where each members of the Rhyme Syndicate, some of the members along with Ice-T and of the Rhyme Syndicate, man, they start telling these stories that are really lies. But the irony is they're saying my word is bond, and that phrase means that you're telling the truth, that your word is fact. But I just really did this album, man. It was just so much great music, man, and the production on here, and I like the whole political nature that Ice-T took on here, man. He really showed that there was just more to him than just being a gangster rapper. That he's intelligent and he knows what he's talking about, man. But really dug this album. Probably my number one favorite Ice-T album of all time, man. Really did this record so much, man. So definitely, man, check out Freedom of Speech. Just watch what you say, man. Great record. All right, so the next album that we're going to talk about is what most people, a lot of Ice-T fans, consider to be his greatest record. And that is OG, Original Gangster, man, released in 1991. And I have to agree, man. You know, even though Freedom of Speech, just watch what you say, even though I would say consider that my favorite Ice-T album, man. I gotta say that OG Original Gangster is his best record, man. To me, this is his most complete album because you're getting everything from Ron Pays all the way to that point. It all culminating into this record. Just a great record. And one of Ice-T's longest albums, man, because this record has like 24 tracks, although there are some interludes in between a lot of the songs, and then there's a lot of songs that aren't really that long. Some songs might be only a minute or maybe 2 minutes long or so, but just a great record, man. I mean, it had the song New Jack Hustler, which appeared on the New Jack City soundtrack originally. And at this time, man, Ice-T was hot, man. He had become really hot at this time because he had just did New Jack City, which was a huge success, and that really jump started his successful film career and everything. He was still on top of the game as a rapper. He was still one of the top rappers at that time. So he was really on one around the time that this album came out, man. This was really Ice-T at his peak. So many great songs on here, man. I really like the production on here, man. The production on here kind of has sort of an East Coast vibe to it. Even though it's definitely West Coast, I kind of feel like it has this sort of West Coast boom bapish feel to it because a lot of the beats on here are they're bass heavy, they're pounding, but they kind of have like a underground kind of rough feel to them, which I really dig. And there's like some sort of like little jazzy samples on some of them. Just so many great songs on this record, man. And like I said, man, Ice-T was on top of his game at this time. And this album was also the introduction of Body Count, because the song Body Count, which would later appear on the album as well, originally appeared on here, man. So this is his introduction of the heavy metal band Body Count. But just so many great songs on here, man. And yeah, I gotta be honest with you, man. Even though Freedom of Speech is my favorite one, I gotta say I do agree with OG Original Gangster being Ice-T's best album. Just so many great songs on here, man. And another favorite, I'll say this is my second favorite one, because just so many great songs on here, man. Like Ice-T was really on one when he did this record, man. So definitely don't sleep on this record. Definitely check out OG Original Gangster, another classic album from Ice-T. So now we get to the last album on this list, and this would be Home Invasion, released in 1993. Man. Another great record, man. Yeah, now this album, I really think that this is a great record too. Now I'm not gonna say it's as great as OG Original Gangster, but it's definitely nowhere near like a slump. For the most part, I think Ice-T kind of followed the same formula of OG, but I don't think Home Invasion is as radio friendly as OG Original Gangster was. And when I say radio friendly, I don't mean like OG Original Gangster was poppy or anything like that, but it's just that Home Invasion was a little bit more harder. It was a little bit more aggressive, and rightfully so, because in between the previous record and Home Invasion, Ice-T had went through a lot of stuff. The Body Count had dropped their album, which the song Cop Killer spurred so much controversy, man. And Ice-T was getting hit in all kinds of directions, man, from his critics, man. Like the police was wanting to get him, politicians were after him. I mean, the government was on his tail, man. He was having the CIA, FBI people watching his house. Everywhere he traveled to, he had to travel in bulletproof limousines. When he did shows, people had to be thoroughly checked to make sure there wasn't no undercover cops coming to his shows to maybe try to assassinate him and stuff like that. So Ice-T was going through a lot, man. And he also ended up having to part ways with Warner Brothers, Sire Records, because this album was originally supposed to come out in 92 on that label, but because of everything that was happening with the Cop Killer controversy, and then the whole controversy surrounding gangster rap, because Death Row Records had blew up at that time and they was under a lot of heat. Sire, Warner Brothers, they started to like kind of censor him. They didn't want to release this album with this cover, which shows a white kid being immersed in like black culture. He's listening to like hip hop music, which that's what the title kind of invokes about how hip hop has invaded like some of these kids' homes, and now it's and that's why now it's becoming controversial. At that time, that's why it became controversial. But they wanted to change the album cover They didn't. Then when Ice-T agreed to do that, they decided they wanted to shelve the record. And Ice-T realized that his music was going to be censored from now on, from here on out. So he decided to part ways with them. And this album actually came out independently on his own Rhyme Syndicate Records, but it was distributed by Priority. But because of all the controversy that surrounded the record, I think it got overshadowed a lot. And because it was essentially an independent release, I guess the promotion that he would have gotten with Sire and Warner Brothers, he didn't really get that with this record. But in my opinion, I still think that this is a really great record. I think it was a really good follow-up to OG Original Gangster, man. It's just that it was a lot more heavier, a bit more angrier, which rightfully so, because Ice-T had been going through a stressful time when this record came out. And essentially, a lot of these songs are him responding and pretty much telling his side of the story from his perspective of how he feels about it, his opinions on the whole matter. But just really a dope album. I personally, man, even though I like the two albums he did after this, like a Return of the Real and the Seven Deadly Sins, I kind of feel like Home Invasion was really one of his last really great records within that early period, man. But it was definitely overlooked because it got overshadowed by all the controversy surrounding Cop Killer, which, Body Count was a heavy metal band, but they were being lumped into the whole gangster rap thing because Ice-T was the front man. But Home Invasion, man, lots of great production on here, a bit more rougher, a bit more harder, and it really represents a lot of what Ice-T was going through at the time. He really vents out a lot of his frustrations of what he had to deal with at the time and so forth, man. So I think it's a really dope record, and I think it was a really dope follow up to OG Original Gangster. So, even though this record didn't get the same success as the previous records, I highly recommend that you don't sleep on this album, that you definitely listen to it, because it's not by any means a downer. It's not by any means a slouch or disappointment like I've heard a lot of reviewers and critics say. I really think this was a solid follow-up, and I think it's one that fits perfectly in his classic period. So definitely check out Home Invasion, man. Don't sleep on it. Don't listen to the critics. Go listen to it and be a judge it for yourself, man. But I really think this was a great follow-up, man. All right, so that's it for this video. Me discussing my Ice-T collection from 1987 to 1993. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up and give me a like, because it helps with the algorithm. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button and mash that bell so you'll be notified every time I drop content. I want to give a shout out to all my new subscribers, my old subscribers, and everybody that's been taking the time to watch these videos. I truly appreciate it. And as always, hope everyone has a blessed day, a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out.